There is nobody on the planet who's drawn more than me. Nobody. That's all I've done. I haven't cooked. I haven't made children. I've just drawn. That's all I can do. That's all I do.
The very act of making drawings like this consumes an amazing amount of time. What we're witnessing here, she has pulled from her imagination, and that is highly unusual.
What she's dealing with is what everybody has inside them in one form or another. And probably most people are frightened to recognize it. You put it down in the basement and keep the trap doors shut.
I've been drawing now for over 50 years. I'm isolated, I'm in my head, I'm in this piece of paper. And what goes on between me and the paper, everything comes into play, my entire life. My father gave me rapidograph pens when I was about 9 or 10, and I used to take my little book into school with me and just draw. Phallic things going on. Very weird. There's a very hurt child in all of my work. Very alone, very confused, and out of it. And she is still in me. She is very much in me.
Good morning. Here's the news. Civil Defense Headquarters announced today that the sharp increase in the number of cases of illness during the last few days have led authorities to suspect that a biological warfare attack may have taken place. As yet, the cause of this outbreak has not been identified.
Black and white is the color of ghosts. It's the color of old television shows. It's the color of memories, old family photographs. It's the color of past and longing. It's almost the color of thought.
I don't think I've ever seen another piece of art that affected me in such a way. When I saw Love Bite, I felt a stirring inside of me. I felt like I found like a connection to, so I felt connected, you know? I felt a need to get to know her, like a kindred spirit or something, you know? I felt like somebody understood me too, you know? It was extraordinary. This is Love Bite by Laurie Lipton. And the reason it's not hung is that this is my office, and often when important clients come in, we have to hide it. We actually have to hide it. There's some people come by and they look at it and they feel frightened, and other people come by and they think it's amazing. It's not 50-50. It's probably something more like 90-10. We've had people come in here that are terrified of the work. Terrified, which is great, right? Because it's fucking art, okay? It's not a Doberman or a pit bull. It's art. What are you afraid of? You know? But Well, they're afraid of Laurie Lipton is what they're afraid of.
I am a very private, introverted creature. A lot is hidden in my work, and a lot is hidden in me. People are always disappointed when they meet me because they think, oh my gosh, you know, it's just so normal. Well, whatever normal is. And your drawings are, you know, you look like you bake cookies, and your drawings are so gothic. What's going on? It's as if there's another being inside of me, and it's taking me for a ride. I've come to accept it now. I used to fight it a lot of times and think, why am I in this room alone, wasting my life? But this is my role. This is why I've been put on Earth, to draw, basically. Some people put on Earth for more important things, but I'm a pencil pusher. A lot of people have compared me to a monk or a nun, and my life is very simple. It's very, very simple. The art world has fashions and in crowds, and I've always been on the outside. So no one really knows me. No one knows who I am. You know, people ask me, why don't you make nice things? As my grandmother used to say, why don't you make something I can hang on my living room wall? But for me personally, this is what it looks like to me. I draw about things that bother me in life, and death began to bother me at about the age of 6 or 7. I was always drawing, always.
Come on, darling. Play with your brother.
I don't like him.
That's how I amused myself, and my mother was very worried about me because I didn't like going out and playing with the other children. I liked lying on the floor of my bedroom and drawing.
Oh, be nice to brother. He's our baby.
Sit on my leg.
I was a perfect little girl. I was very, very polite. I was very adorable. But I had an alter ego. I was a tomboy, and I hated dresses. The minute I got home from school, I ripped off my dress and I put on my cowboy outfit. And I was doing these horrible, painful, angry drawings. My parents always brought out my stuff when my aunts and uncles came to visit, and they were horrified at some of the stuff I did. I mean, that was really disturbing, some of it. My parents would just, look what Laurie did. Isn't this amazing? Isn't this wonderful? Boob chin, the typical boob chin. I think that's masturbation, but I'm not quite sure. Instead of having me sectioned or put on medication, they praised me. My parents were sort of middle-class suburban anarchists. They did do the suburban shtick. My father worked hard, my mother worked hard. They gave us a good life on the one hand, and on the other hand, there was a little bit of a demon in there, and they were sort of like to authority all the time. It was post-World War II, and there was a boom time in America. People were living the best they'd ever lived in their lives, much better than their parents. But on the other hand, there was a threat under the carpet.
You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. If you were not ready, did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways.
I was in 3rd grade. They rang a bell and we had to get under our desks and put our heads down and face away from the window in case the Russians dropped an atomic bomb.
It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion.
To a child, that is such a frightening thing. Our whole world could explode. It was insane.
There might not be any grown-ups around when the bomb explodes. Then, you're on your own.
It can't be. My eyes are deceiving me.
People fear what they don't understand and what they can't see.
I read a lot of sci-fi when I was a child. My father used to read analog and sci-fi magazines, and he'd leave them all over the house. And these stories were about reality splitting in two. All of a sudden, we're having a nice, wonderful day, and then suddenly, something weird happens, and you're whisked into another dimension. I got the sense that reality was very, very thin, and any moment it could just crack apart and you could fall through the hole. I had a lot of very, very powerful feelings swirling inside of me, and I had to have a way to deal with emotions. Yeah, there we go with the penis and everything. Oh dear. I love this one. I was constantly the outsider. And I wanted so desperately to fly away. And I did fly away. I did, literally, to Europe. In the 70s, I went to Amsterdam and I saw these amazing 16th century paintings like Van Eyck and Memling, the Flemish masters. I thought, how do you do that? The reason these artists were so successful in their right, I don't mean monetarily, I mean as artists, was because they had achieved something unique. Looking at Michelangelo's David, I was bowled over by his work. So I was trying to figure out, how did he do this? He did it by being Michelangelo, totally. So I thought, okay, none of these guys were ever Laurie Lipton. If I can be the most Laurie Lipton ever and touch my essence of Laurie Lipton-ness. Somehow, some way, do something I've never seen before, then I will be successful. Then I have a chance. I have not lived in the States for more than half my life. I love London. I've lived there the longest, anywhere in the world. However, my art was getting nowhere there. I was like banging my head against a wall for 26 years. When I first moved there in the 80s, it was really big and I got a lot of publicity. And then suddenly, the Brit art took over and it became very closed.
Critics and collectors alike flock to the private views where works from Damien Hirst and Gavin Turk have given the gallery a reputation for spotting and nurturing rising talent.
On the whole, I was always disappointed collectors didn't go, hey, who's this one, you know, or the critics didn't go, pick up on it, you know. Is there something extraordinary being produced?
I think so much of modern art is decorative. To me, it has no meaning. It has no substance. It goes with the three-piece, so sweet. You know, it's the right, I can't have that, oh, I don't like that picture because it's not the mauve that I have on the carpet there. And so Damien Hirst put the polka dots up there because it doesn't say anything. What we do know is that I have enough money to buy a Damien Hirst. And so it says a lot about me and my success and blah, blah, blah. And yet art to me has always been something to trigger within you the things you may not have thought about, the things you're frightened of, things you don't want to talk. And there it is.
In London, my individuality worked against me. But here in LA, it's a bonus. LA celebrates uniqueness in a lot of things, you know? So I have more of a chance here than I have anyplace else. I really feel that. So I'm hopeful. I joked and I said, I'm coming back to document the fall of the American empire, because that's what it feels like. % of mankind is stockpiling all this wealth and resources. We have the potential to make heaven on earth, and these little fuckers, these goddamn fucking greedy bastard individuals have taken us by the neck and squeezed us because they want it. Me, I want it, fuck you. And if only we'd wake up to that fact and say, no, wait a minute, there's more of us than you. I see it very clearly, especially watching the news here. What kind of shit, what kind of pap they're feeding people here. And it's interesting, there's 2 minutes of news and 5 minutes of commercials here. Get this, buy this, take this medicine, buy this. The planet is falling apart because of the excess, because of the greed, because of the population explosion. We are fucked. I was watching CNN, then they were showing bombing Iraq. And I'm sitting there eating, and these people screaming, bombs were falling. It was actually happening. And I'm just sitting there eating, and then there's a commercial, And I thought, wait a minute, this is sick. Sitting here in the comfort of my own home, I'm actually watching death happen. I just sat there and ate my supper. And I thought I was being manipulated by the graphics, everything, all the information they fed me has just made me go to sleep. I'm seeing America slightly askew because I'm an outsider. I am judging, but I'm also judging myself. I have a lot of questions, that's all. It was shocking to turn 60. I suddenly thought there's more behind me than in front of me now. And that's why I'm not kidding around anymore. This is it. It's the largest, most complex drawing I've ever attempted. It's going to take at least 4 or 5 months, working every day. After this one, I'm going to get something really even more complex. I don't care. I want to be able to leave behind me mind-bogglingly amazing work. I want to astound myself. I want to fucking astound my fucking self. This room represents my entire life, the past 2.5 years. And when you look at this room, you realize why I haven't been outside. The only thing I can't do upside down is a face. So everything else I did do upside down. That whole top bit, I did upside down.
And how tall is that?
I think it's 6 foot by 8. Or verging on 9, I'm not sure. Galleries always wanted to do smaller and cheaper, and the fact that Douglas wanted me to do these huge ones was a tremendous gift to me and a challenge, and I took it on board wholeheartedly.
She's absolutely fearless, and she went to it with like a dog to a bone. What's really interesting for me is when I bring people in and they see the drawings the first time, there's silence. It's almost like they can't quite get it.
You think of the Sistine Chapel or something crazy like that, just in terms of how ambitious it is. It's not bigger marks. It's just a bigger surface. That just becomes even more crazy. I think it's going to wind up being pretty long-lasting, and that generations from now, people will go back to what Laurie's doing and look at them with amazement and awe that someone had the time to do that.
I want even bigger, but I'm not allowed. You know in the fairy tales when the princesses have to collect every grain of sand in order to find their true love? It's that kind of thing. You know, this witch sets a task for me, the witch in my head, and says, all right, dearie, you know, let's see if you can do this. And I think, well, can I? The white wire is the one you can go all the way around the picture with. All of life is suddenly behind a screen. Living through a screen and being through a screen, socializing through screens. We're all interacting with each other alone. It's interesting what it does to reality and what it does to our involvement in reality. I always think of the 1960s commercials with the housewives. Technology is freeing us to be ourselves and to have fabulous lives, you know? And it isn't. All this stuff we're plugged into all the time shuts us off from ourselves and our emotions and our knowing. I did a lecture once with these kids, and the girl said to me, well, what are you doing about it? And you're just complaining. What are you doing about it? Well, that's just it. All I can do is draw. That's all I'm good for. That's my contribution. I don't know, and paper doesn't even last that long.
Humanity doesn't know when to stop. We are our own worst enemies. I'm convinced of it. We spend our lives right now trying to keep up with the smarts of my computer or my phone, trying to feed it with more telephone numbers, more everything, more everything. All my photographs, my life is now in my computer. It's all in there, it can handle it, it can move it, and it thrives on it. We're feeding the beast that will probably destroy us.
Misinformation and false news travels very quickly, and someone who knows how to manipulate that has a lot of power. But also it's a boon because there's people power. It's like a true democracy. If there's an injustice, we all know about it immediately. If there's something going on in the news, they can't suppress it. Heaven and hell, constant duality, it's in individuals and in everything we have. I'm not too crazy about doing small work now. I mean, I've been doing small work for 50 years. It's like when you put water in a receptacle, it expands to fit the receptacle. Well, my imagination is now 6 foot by 9 foot, so going small is sort of cramping me a bit. Artists interrupt us. Yeah. This is just a doodle, basically. I'm just doodling on this piece of paper. I wish I hadn't been attracted to black and white. I really do, and I wish I hadn't been attracted to drawing. I mean, I couldn't have made it worse for myself if I tried. In the art market. It's crazy, but it's what I had to do. These are the ones that just didn't sell. They were too odd. I was experimenting. Mommy's cooking. If I don't draw, I feel uncomfortable. I'm not at peace with the world or myself. And this has been always. I didn't ask for it, you know? And people say, I have to get in touch with the artist within. I just wish I could get in touch with something else, like the dancer within, or the businesswoman within, or this, this thing inside of me has driven me. I really like this, and I don't know why it hasn't sold. You can never tell what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. Never. It's weird. August 22nd, 1978. You want weird? I'll give you weird. This is called Stranger in the Woods. And I don't know why this didn't sell. Maybe because it's disturbing. I like it. I think it's a good one. You can see the man behind the trees. Even this looks phallic. Penis mushrooms. Yeah, she's very symbolic. I was about 5 or 6 at the time. He had escaped from an insane asylum. And before me, he molested 2 other children. It was someplace I wasn't allowed to go. And this guy just came up to us and said, "Do you want to see my little puppy?" Everyone said no. And I said, "Yeah," because I was like, you know, the leader of the gang kind of thing. And I said, "Yeah, let's see her." And he got me down into this gully. And the kids were on the hilltop watching. They just stood there and watched. It's just one crazy incident, one accident of this man and me that changed my entire life and perception, because suddenly reality shifted. It jet propelled me into the outside. My mother turned into something else. My life turned into something else. People were dangerous. Stuff was, you know, incomprehensible. Before then, I was fearless. I was fearless. And it made me an artist. I know this sounds very bizarre, but I'm grateful for it. My poor mother, I'm not grateful for the fact that she suffered. I'm not grateful for the fact that this little girl suffered, you know. I suffered. Little Laurie suffered. But now, right now, I'm very grateful. It's odd, isn't it? You never know. You never know what kind of gift comes out of suffering. You never know.
Every time you get high, you might see me floating by. Well, so long, old bean, it's been a dream being with you. I couldn't tell us apart. Oh, and I know neither could you. Don't tread on me when you float downstream on a moonbeam. So long, old beam. So long, old beam.